If you're listening to this alone, especially at night, you might want to turn on a light, because some places don't stay empty, even when they're supposed to. 14-year-old Ethan Carter never wanted to move to Chicago. New city, new house, new school, new people. That was the worst part. At Lincoln High School, everything felt louder, faster, and colder. Students already had their groups, their jokes, their routines. Ethan had none of that. Whenever someone tried to talk to him, his throat tightened, his words stumbled, and his eyes dropped to the floor. It didn't take long before people noticed, and then came the labels: weirdo, freak, loser. The loudest voice among them belonged to Brad Wilson, a tall, confident kid who seemed to enjoy making Ethan's life miserable. Every day, Brad found a new way to embarrass him, and every day, Ethan shrank a little more. Eventually, he stopped trying. There was only one place where no one bothered him: the fourth-floor bathroom. Technically, students weren't supposed to go there. It was old, half-abandoned, rarely used. The lights flickered, the tiles were cracked, and the air smelled damp and rotten. But that's exactly why Ethan liked it. No one came there. It became his escape. One afternoon during lunch break, Ethan sat inside one of the stalls, his head buried in his arms. He tried to stay quiet, but the tears still came. That's when he heard it. The door, slowly opening. Creak. Ethan froze. His heart started pounding so loudly it felt like it would give him away. Brad? Had they followed him? He slowly leaned forward and looked down through the gap beneath the stall door. At first, nothing. Then, a pair of old, worn-out shoes stepped into view. Dirty, torn, completely still. Ethan held his breath. Whoever it was wasn't moving. Then came the sound, a low, uneven breathing. Not normal breathing, something deeper, heavier, like it was coming from a chest that hadn't worked properly in years. Ethan squeezed his eyes shut. "Please go away," he whispered under his breath. Seconds passed. Then, the bell rang. Lunch break was over. The breathing stopped. Silence. After what felt like forever, Ethan slowly unlocked the stall and pushed the door open. The bathroom was completely empty. No footsteps, no movement, no sound. He let out a shaky breath. Just my imagination. Then he looked up at the mirror, and everything inside him went cold, because in the reflection, right behind him, stood a tall, thin man, wearing a long black coat. His face was pale, stretched, unnatural, and he was smiling. Not a normal smile, a wide, twisted, unnatural smile. Ethan spun around. Nothing. He looked back at the mirror. The man was still there, watching him, grinning wider. That's when Ethan ran, and he didn't stop until he reached his classroom. But even then, he couldn't shake the feeling that something had just found him. That night, Ethan didn't sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw that face again. That smile, too wide, too still, too wrong. At 3:12 a.m., he sat up suddenly because he heard something. A faint sound from the hallway. Footsteps, slow, dragging. He stared at his bedroom door. The footsteps stopped right outside. Silence. Then a soft scratch against the wood. Ethan held his breath. "Dad?" he whispered. No answer. Just another scratch. He didn't open the door. He couldn't. Eventually, exhaustion pulled him back into sleep, but the fear stayed. The next day at school felt unreal. Everything looked normal, but nothing felt normal. especially when he saw it again. In class, as Mrs. Anderson wrote on the board, she suddenly called his name. "Ethan, can you answer this?" He stood up slowly, his hands trembling, and then he looked behind her, and his blood ran cold. The man was there, standing right behind the teacher, closer than before, clearer, watching Ethan, smiling. Ethan screamed, "Ma'am, there's someone behind you!" The class burst into laughter. Mrs. Anderson turned around. Nothing. When she faced him again, her expression hardened. "That's enough, Ethan. Hands up. Stay standing." The class laughed louder. Brad leaned back in his chair, grinning. "Freak's losing it." That's when something changed inside Ethan. A pressure, a heat, a whisper right next to his ear. "Do it." Ethan's breathing quickened. "No!" "Do it." Before he even realized it, he was moving, fast, too fast. Brad didn't even have time to react. Ethan lunged forward and drove his fingers straight into Brad's eyes. The scream that followed was inhuman. Chaos. That's all it was. Students screaming, desks crashing, blood everywhere. Brad collapsed, clutching his face, shrieking in agony. Ethan stumbled back, shaking. I didn't. But he knew something had taken over. In the principal's office, he kept repeating the same thing. "There was someone. He told me to do it." Principal Harris didn't believe a word. Enough excuses. Then it happened again. The whisper. Stronger. Before anyone could react, Ethan grabbed her throat, hard, too hard. Her eyes widened in shock. She couldn't breathe. The assistant rushed in, pulling Ethan away, slapping him hard. But Ethan didn't flinch. He just laughed, slowly. That's when they locked him inside a storage room. Minutes later, bang! The door exploded open. The guard lay unconscious, and Ethan was gone. They found him on the 4th floor, walking slowly, like he wasn't in control, because he wasn't. Ahead of him, the man, waiting. Inside the bathroom, the mirror was different now, darker, deeper, like it wasn't reflecting anymore, but opening. Ethan stepped closer. The man reached out and grabbed him. When his father arrived, he saw it. Ethan's body halfway inside the mirror, being pulled. He ran, grabbed him, pulled with everything he had, and somehow he got him back. Later, the truth came out. 2 years ago, Principal Richard Grant had been killing children in that bathroom, eating them. He died there, but something stayed, and now it wanted a way out. Ethan survived, but sometimes, late at night, when he looks into a mirror, he still sees him, standing behind him, smiling, waiting, and maybe next time he won't let go.